Thank you very much for staying. This is the Marketplace. Now, government's quest of ensuring that reforms are being implemented for an improved business environment to quickly yield the desired results may have suffered another setback. This is because Ghana has gone down by one place in the latest Rand Merchant Bank's Where to Invest in Africa rankings. George Wiafi has more.
This ranking is coming at a time that previous reports like the World Bank Doing Business and the World Economic Forum Global Competitiveness Report have all scored Ghana low marks in terms of favorable business environment, especially when this report raises issues about rising corruption. Their argument that it might take a while longer before investors start responding to some of these measures that have been taken by government to improve the situation. A development that could see Ghana loosen out slightly in terms of capital attraction. For government, it doesn't believe the situation is that bad for the country, especially when this was based on an aggregate of previous reports that Ghana didn't perform well already. Government again is optimistic that measures being implemented will get the country the right results very soon.
Now, some commercial banks in the country say they've been responding to developments in the economy by reducing their lending rates. Banks have come under some serious criticisms over high lending rates despite significant reduction in all the variables that influence the cost of credit. Managing Director of Barclays Bank, Patience Achanu, said her bank, for instance, has dropped its interest rates by 6% from last year.
I think we've already responded to the call because there's a lot of progress in the lending rate space, and a lot of us, in line with the decline in policy rates, have dropped our lending rates by more than 6% since the beginning of last year. So we've already started responding favorably to the improving macroeconomic fundamentals.
So in the case of Barclays, what's the situation right now that if I should work to engage your credit officers and I'm not a prime or maybe a very credit-worthy person, what am I likely to get from your end?
So from 34%, which we started last year with, you can actually borrow from us at around 26 to 27%.
And so one would ask that, how do you expect this development also to impact on the bottom line? Because there are some who have said that low interest rates sometimes translate into more credit extension and then significant growth in your loan book.
Definitely, if we don't ensure that this opportunity translates into higher volumes, will affect adversely our profit, because of course, if rates are higher and you drop it without compensating with enhanced growth in volumes, you will feel the pinch. But I see this as a huge opportunity to enable the private sector grow by giving out more loans.
And therefore, you believe that it would help the growth of the private sector as well?
Indeed, I definitely think so. I think as a Ghanaian, whilst I'm a bank MD, I'm not proud of our high interest rate regime. Sometimes when I meet my other African colleagues, I'm embarrassed to say we lend at 30%. So this development is good for all of us and ultimately to translate into a stronger economy.
Talking about interest rate, there's this talk about the Ghana reference rate taking off from next month. Some are saying that always the big banks should take the lead for others to follow. I mean, what do you make of this Ghana reference rate that is going to take off from next month?
I think it's definitely a step in the right direction because there was just too much divergence in base rates across banks. I mean, one base rate is 17%, another is 25%. I mean, what can possibly account for that, except that we're allowed to use our own parameters and variables like return on equity and stuff like that. So I think getting one consistent rate, which factors in the development in T-bill rates and the policy rate, is the right way to proceed.
Now, GLICO General Insurance has described as mischievous the invasion of its head office in Accra by one of its clients, NDK Financial Services. This was as a result of disagreements over some interest accrued on a credit guarantee extended to GLICO. NDK says the interest has reached almost 400,000 Ghana cedis. There's more in this report.
Checks with the insurance company confirmed that a team of officers from NDK Financial Services, together with a police official, besieged the head office of GLICO General Insurance, seizing 5 vehicles, a photocopier machine and computers. This follows some disagreement over the payment of interest on the sum of 398,522 cedis, of which case has been in court for judgment. Andre Achiambonche is MD of GLICO General.
I think it's a bit of a mischievous act on NDK's part, considering this matter is being in court. And there was a recent ruling which actually clarified some of the pertinent issues for which we were in court for. On the 21st of February 2018, the learned justice clarified this pertinent issue on interest. This is to do with interest on the judgment and post-judgment interest. I think it was a big win for us in actual fact, because the computation then was compounded, which we disputed, and the learned justice confirmed and clarified that indeed the interest mode applicable was that of simple interest, in accordance with CI 52 for my learned friends out there.
The tussle between GLICO General Insurance and NDK Financial Services has raised concerns over the claims-paying capacity of insurance firms in Ghana, but MD of GLICO General, Andre Achiambonche, reassured clients and investors of very good reserves for claims. He says lawyers are taking measures to address the legal tussle.
We do proper underwriting, prudent underwriting, and we have very good reserves to take care of claims. When it comes to claims, we do not like to drag things. In actual fact, if you look at our history and our record, you realize that claims is being sorted out in less than a week even when you are with GLICO. I'd like to mention that GLICO is rated by S&P, Standard & Poor's, and we got a B. We also rated by A- by Global Credit of GCR of Global Credit Rating of South Africa. For our claims payment ability. So to our clients, I just want to reiterate that GLICO General stands firm and strong, and we continue to do business as usual.
Meanwhile, the Commercial Division in the High Court of Accra has in a recent ruling ordered that NDK Financial Services Limited shall be entitled to interest at the rate of 5.5% on the said amount of 398,522 cedis calculated from September 2009 to 10th of November 2013. The development could be similar to the SIC Agri Finance situation.
Let us stay a little longer in the insurance industry, and government's agricultural transformation agenda cannot be realized without agro-insurance. That's according to the General Manager of Ghana Agric Insurance Pool, Alhaji Ali Mohammed Katu. He says the flagship programs, including the Planting for Food and Jobs, should be backed with interventions to deal with potential risks. Love FM's Kwesi Debra reports.
Ghana is signatory to the Malabo Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and Transformation for Shared Prosperity and Improved Livelihood. Commitment 6 requires enhancing resilience system for vulnerable groups in Africa. The Ghana Agricultural Insurance Program has since inception in 2011 developed the first agricultural insurance for Ghana. It also initiated a key adaptation measure to climate change. 19 Ghanaian insurance companies, which form the Ghana Agricultural Insurance Pool, ensure a solid financial foundation. Alhaji Katu bemoans the level of patronage, but says the program has trained agricultural extension officers to sensitize farmers on insurance.
If they have insurance, he has done everything right, and there's no rain. And Ghana, we depend mainly on rain-fed agriculture. In this case, whatever he has done comes to zero. And that's where the insurance comes in. So he gets compensation for the losses he has incurred. So one, his income has been regularized, and two, he can go back to his business come the next season. So it fits into even the government's agenda for agricultural transformation. So we've been talking to Plan for Food and Jobs, 1D, 1F projects, so that all those agri-related issues could be supported. Because we provide protection for both farmers and even stakeholders.
The group presented 2 checks to Premium Foods at Jache Pramso in the Ashanti region.
Okay. The total amount is 1,480,716 Ghana cedis. So here we present the two checks.
It covers benefits for losses the company suffered in 2017 major season on its farms at Afram Plains and Agogo. Procurement Manager Prince Ando is happy Ghana's rain-fed agriculture finally has relief for excessive floods and for armyworm.
In Ghana, agric is mostly relied on rain-fed, and most of these things we don't have control over. So if you have a company that is going to take care of that risk, it's a big relief for us.
Reporting for Joy News,
we did over 1,000.
This is live on the marketplace. Let's now turn our attention to one of our top stories. And 319 microfinance companies are currently in good standing with the Bank of Ghana ending December 2017. This was contained in a statement issued by the Bank of Ghana earlier today. Now, George Viafe joins me in the studio with some more clarification on this. George, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
So what has the occasioned this particular action by the bank?
So if you should catch your mind back, there have been lots of developments in the microfinance space. Some people have said that they take their money to these companies. They don't know whether they've been registered by the Bank of Ghana. Later, they try to get these monies back. They can't get it. So a lot of things, some going down and others. So the Bank of Ghana has been engaging several players in the industry to try and find ways and means to get around this challenge. And this one, in terms of giving the names of these companies in good standing as of December 2017, is one of several processes the Bank of Ghana or several measures the Bank of Ghana is undertaking to ensure that they weed out the bad ones and also empower these depositors for them to appreciate that if you walk into a company, find whether that company has been licensed or not before you put your funds there. You have situations where someone say he deposited about 500,000 Ghana cedis, even 1 million Ghana cedis, and he or she cannot get their money back. So it's part of several processes the Bank of Ghana is undertaking to try and bring some sanity into the microfinance space. First, empower the depositors to identify whether you have fear in company or you have savings and loans, or but you have savings and loans actually exist and they can actually put their money there. Then you move forward again to try and see how you can withdraw these companies, get down there with the security companies, and then close them down. So this is one of several measures I think they are planning to do.
No, I think it's the right direction. But 319 is a tall list. Can you give us a breakdown?
I mean, I've been trying to go through myself and see which ones I know. But it's interesting thing to note that we all thought that the Ashanti region had the highest list of these microfinance companies. But when you go through the list, you could talk about Greater Accra having almost 200 of these companies. Yeah. Ashanti just about 37, and the rest Central.
What about BA?
I mean, BA is still minimal compared to the companies that are in Greater Accra region that have registered with the Bank of Ghana. And that's a breakdown that I can give to you. For Ashanti region, just 37, Central about 20, Greater Accra might be having the rest of these numbers.
So how can I tell if I'm really doing business with a company that has...
So we are trying to make it easier for you and all those people out there. Just go to www.myjoyonline.com. The story is there. You click on the attached document, and the list runs down for you able to identify whether maybe Viafe & Co is registered or not. If it's not registered, walk into that company and take your funds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Viafe.
Report. And that was George Viafe bringing us up to speed with the current development in the microfinance sector. Now, turning our attention now to aviation. African countries are being advised to embrace the free air market transport system to increase GDPs of their economies. This comes as 23 African countries recently launched the Single African Air Transport Market Initiative aimed at opening up the continent's skies. Speaking to Joy Business in an interview recently, the Vice President of IATA, Raphael Kuchi, said protectionism is rather a hindrance to the growth of the air transport market.
Currently, about 23 countries have signed on to the Single African Air Transport Market, with 32 countries yet to join. According to the Vice President of IATA, Raphael Kuchi, an immediate benefit of the Single Air Market will be enhanced connectivity among African nations and economic growth.
Which today with intra-Africa trade is only at between 12 to 15%. Now, we want to see this to be 30, 50% at least. for the continent. How can we do that if we don't even have connectivity amongst us? And we did a study in 2014, actually, which led to this single African air transport market, which says that if 12 African countries were actually to open up their markets to each other, what would be the impact on those 12 countries? And it emerged that we would see a GDP growth in the 12 countries of $1.3 billion US. We're going to see 155,000 new jobs in the air transport sector alone. And we were going to see 5 million more passengers who today are not flying begin to fly, because with the opening of the market, there will be increased competition, and with increased competition, you're going to have many more, you have fares coming down and many more people able to travel.
But while launching the single air market with 23 countries is an important step forward, Raphael Kuchi says its benefits will not be fully realized until there is an effective implementation by member countries.
This is something that is a follow-up to the Yamoussoukro decision of 1999. And as you know, Yamoussoukro decision, which is almost 20 years old, was not truly effectively implemented. But there were a number of reasons why it was not effectively implemented, chief among which was the fact that many states feared at the time that their national carriers will be competed out of business if they were to open up their markets to other African operators. But today we are seeing that even though they never open up their markets, where are most of the national carriers? Where is Ghana Airways? Where is Nigeria Airways? Okay, where is what do you call it? Zambia Airways. You know, many of the national carriers, which were big, Air Afrique, which was a giant in this region, they all disappeared, even though the market was never opened up. The undoing of Africa is actually closing up the market.
The launch of the single air market follows closely on moves by several African countries to relax visa rules for African nations. Sheila Tamaklo for Joy Business.
And still in aviation, country manager for Brussels Air, Rita Machedo, is calling for more female mentors in the aviation industry to create a pool of many more women in the industry. The country manager made the call as the airline welcomed an all-female crew at the Kotoka International Airport to commemorate celebrations of the International Women's Day yesterday.
Women and men have the same rights, should be paid the same, should have the same opportunities, and which happens in Brussels Airlines since the beginning. But I think that we know that the world is still a very man world, and we are getting there to be equal. That's the only thing we want.
And what do you think we can do to, encourage more women into the sector?
Well, actually, 10% of our cockpit staff are women, which is very small, but it's the highest in the aviation industry. I think, especially cockpit staff, it's really a man's world. But things are changing, and you just need role models and people doing it, so the others know that they can also do. So it's a cultural thing that is disappearing.
Now, practicing healthy eating lifestyles is fast becoming a norm as many individuals and organizations are placing more emphasis on the link between good health and productivity. With the upsurge of vegetarian restaurants in the bigger cities, fresh fruits and vegetable vendors are cashing in on the situation, while a lot more people are trying to stay off meat and adopt a vegetarian lifestyle. But healthy lifestyles are expensive to maintain. Pearl Domi explores how costly it can be to stay a vegetarian.
Organic food businesses are seeing significant boost as many people continue to patronize their services. This is because healthy eating habits are gaining ground with many deaths associated with poor dietary conditions these days. Both the health conscious and others who aspire to make healthy choices when it comes to dieting rely mostly on fresh natural foods to achieve their aim. These will, however, require reaching deep into one's resources as maintaining such healthy lifestyles sales is quite heavy on the pocket. Anita Punjabi is the owner of Sunshine Salad Bar and has been managing the business for 15 years now. She shares the evolving trends over the years.
Well, I think when we started, it was still something exclusive. You know, and now a lot of people are catching on. We are so much more aware. You know, we have access to social media, the internet, information. So I think everyone's become more aware of the way they're supposed to eat. And more we seem to have a following, and it's a very diverse following, I'm proud to say. At the takeaway, you can go from spending 15 cedis on a meal, which is quite affordable.
Which is affordable, yes.
Yes, and you'd be full.
Yes.
And it goes all the way up, of course, you know, to about 60 or 70, depending on what you choose. And then at the restaurant here, I think on average, if you had a salad and a drink, or a burger and a drink, you'd end up spending between 60 and 70 cedis as well.
Okay.
Dr. Segbefia has been a vegetarian for well over 4 decades now, and he tells us about how much he spends as well as what goes into maintaining his vegan lifestyle.
In March, when the rains set in, then you have these natural mushrooms. You understand that? What I do is I buy about 2,400 cedis worth, okay? Parboil them and stock them in my freezer. I take about 10 cedis worth of carrots every month. At times, every 2 weeks. At times, depending on the season, you know, at times it costs me as much as 40 cedis. You know, the same goes for green pepper, green beans, you know, the French, we call it French beans, and the lettuce. I buy almost 20 cedis worth of lettuce every 2 weeks. You know, so if I want to add up, I take a lot of onions. You know, so whether they are in season or not in season, I buy all my things in bulk. And fresh tomatoes, I spend about 10 cedis every week. You know, and then the other, I have canned mushrooms that I use, and the how do you call it? I have olives. Normally, yeah, I have olives and all those things that some I order from outside. And then we have this black fungus that is imported from China, which is also good, you know. So it's a mishmash of expenditures, you know.
So how does one maintain a vegetarian lifestyle on a low budget?
What one has to do is to first know the budget, and then to have some priorities. I mean, eating healthy is definitely got to be on your priority list. And then you'll be able to find a way to make that happen.
Right.
But I think we don't think twice when we have to go to the salon and do our hair. But we think twice about how much we're spending on the food that's actually going in. So I think if you think about nutritional value, and you think about, you know, produce that you're using, if you want to use local produce, and there is a lot of variety available locally, it doesn't have to be expensive.
Okay.
There's no gainsaying that people may have to brace themselves for more expenditure as eating habits tilt towards vegetarianism.
Whether for a lifestyle change or for health reasons, being a vegetarian doesn't have to be so limiting when you have variety of meals to choose from. Reporting for Joy Business at the Sunshine Salad Bar, Pelsefa Kodomi.
And that will be it for the marketplace for today, and of course wraps up the marketplace for the week. It's been great having you on board, and I hope you do keep you company again next week. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good afternoon.